Hell yeah, we're live. Boy, that was something, wasn't it? Hey, thanks to everybody for sticking around out there. Really appreciate it. And hopefully this internet holds up. I already see it starting to fail. Oh man, I had thought maybe I should just hold off, but we'll see if it clicks back in. Maybe it's just a temporary thing. But evidently there is an issue with the internet. Let's see if it's coming back on. Oh, it's going to be spotty. Hold on. Let me see what's going on here. Okay, I see everybody out there. Hopefully the stream holds up. There it goes. I see it kicking back in now. Okay, good. So we might be a little spotty tonight. I apologize if that's the case. And if it gets too bad, we'll just knock it off and I'll just record. I did record about 45 minutes in the chat. So that was cool. And I'll put that out later too. So you can get your fill. Pretty good conversation. Let me see if I can get the chat to come up for us. For some reason that's not popping. Hopefully that'll work. May have to just drag it over there tonight like I have before. Yep, that's what's going to happen. Anyway, so I'm Brandon Toy, host of the Ranty with Brandon show. Normally start at 5:05, but due to internet problems, started a little late today. Hopefully this holds up for us. If you want to support the show, our preferred way is through Streamlabs. And I believe I've got it working pretty good now. It should automatically read your message. If it doesn't, then I will read it myself. But please use that. Less money goes to Google. Shh, don't tell Google. And that works out pretty good. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, Brandon Toy. There's a couple of them out there, but you should be able to find me pretty easily. I do release after shows over there if I feel like they're something that somebody's going to want to listen to. So go ahead and check that out. And yeah, we've got some people in Discord. So without further ado, let me go over there and let's pick up the conversation and get things going tonight. Hey guys, can you hear me? All right.
Yeah.
I just came in at a quiet time.
Loud and clear.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're live now. So in the Discord, we've got Allie B, Ambiguous Truth, Dr. Professor Ether Boy Travis. There's the horn. F Evangelist, Jimbo, Patient Zero, Paige, Rakia Life, SE Montreal, and myself. Thanks, guys. I'm glad you guys stuck around. I mean, you've been talking and having a conversation, but looks like things are working pretty well now. Hopefully it doesn't dip out on us again, but you know, we're all good. We can have a conversation, a normal show for a couple hours. So what's new?
The Earth is still stationary and flat.
Yes.
The asteroid did not hit us.
Oh, I wasn't aware that there was an asteroid that was supposed to hit us.
It was supposed to hit us on election night.
What was it? Atlas? What was it called? Was it that Atlas meteorite? No, Atlas.
That would have been a good night.
I just kept hearing that Neil deGrasse Tyson kept tweeting that we were going to get hit by an asteroid.
What a jag off!
There's one apparently just entered the solar system. I think it's about half the size of the sun or something.
What?
Well, that's what they say.
I'm getting so scaredy.
I'm telling you.
Fear porn. We're going to be dinosaured out.
You better start cashing in your insurance forms. You know, insurance policies, man. Get spending your money.
You know, it's too, because a doctor who tells you you're going to die in 6 months and you don't, he's liable. Because people spend their money and you know, because they panic and they want to, you know, they live a bit before they die. So there have been doctors who have been sued because they've been giving patients, a false report that their death is imminent. Well, if this guy was held to the same standard, we'd all be suing the son of a bitch.
That's
We're saying
actually a good
we die
point.
in a comet, and then fucking we don't.
I mean, that is my plan. If I find out that I, have a incurable disease or whatever, to go out with a bang. Actually, in reality, when that happened, I'd probably do the exact opposite.
What if you believe someone who told you a rock was going to fall on your head from space? And some do. That's the problem. When they played War of the Worlds, a science fiction, and they made a radio drama out of it. No, not even a TV show, a radio drama. People hearing it, and it was played like it was real broadcast news. Some people committed suicide because they thought Earth was being invaded by these aliens. And it was just a radio show.
Oh, War of the Worlds, yeah.
Yeah. And they had to not do that again.
Is that a true story?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was in. I think New York went into meltdown. I think it was, wasn't it? Because they thought it was real.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I've heard that story my whole life, that happened, or that people were jumping out of windows when the stock market crashed. That's the other popular suicide story from that era for some reason.
Or they got thrown out of windows.
Yeah, that's possible too. You guys ever hear that story about that? I think he was like a banker or an office worker up in Canada, and he used to do this little trick. He worked on like the 10th floor, where he would throw himself against this unbreakable glass windows, and when to impress clients or mess with people. And then he did it one day, and the window didn't break, but it came out of its trim, out of its molding, and he fell the 10 floors down. That's pretty sad.
It's sad, but you can't really feel for someone that's stupid. He would have found another way to go early anyway.
I'm quite a caring guy, and I find it hard to feel sorry for him.
Yeah, there is some people do some stupid stuff, that's for sure.
But we deal with them every day, don't we? With ballers. So.
Yeah, some of the ballers for sure. They certainly like to troll us, that's for sure. I wanted to show you guys this. I saw this the other day. Scientists find hell planet with lava, oceans, supersonic winds, and rain made out of rocks.
Holy cow.
You forgot to say you forgot to say oh my after all of that.
Right?
Oh,
Mike,
yeah.
what's going on, guys?
Hey, what's up, Matrix?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, so this thing, they have a I don't know, is this a picture or is this an image? I don't know. I'm guessing it's a image. But this thing, life here on Earth's planet Earth often seems harsh, especially in 2020 with a pandemic, tornadoes, and tropical storms and out of control wildfires. However, none of these problems can hold a candle to the ultra-violent conditions of planet K2 141b. On this brutal exoplanet hundreds of light years away, oceans are filled with lava, rocks literally rain down, and winds break the sound barrier at thousands of miles an hour.
Yeah, but if it's all
Brandon, I saw this. I know this place. It was where Luke. No, what's his name? Anakin Skywalker had a lightsaber fight with Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think it's called Mustafar or something.
There's the true reason they invented KY jelly. It's for this thing. It's the K2 and it deflects K2. You rub it on your skin, and when this thing passes, it'll bounce right off you.
Jumbo, man.
I'd like to know how they discovered this thing. Hundreds of light years away.
It's simple, Brandon. Paige, there's something wrong with your mic.
Yeah, babe, you're coming in hot.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Something.
Oh my God.
Okay, guys, hold on. That was pretty bad, though.
Like George.
Brandon, you asked that you would like to know how they know these things.
Don't talk.
They made them up themselves.
That's what I'm thinking too, Matrix. Yeah, that's probably very likely. Here we go. Meanwhile, the oceans of K2-141b are comprised of pure heaving lava streams. So hundreds of light years away, they can see the wind. Yeah, good point. And they know what the wind's doing. And they can see the lava streams. I mean, give me a break. And then here they're talking about the atmosphere. The atmospheric conditions and weather cycles of the exoplanet are unlike anything seen in our solar system. While K2-141b is roughly the size of Earth, its surface, ocean, and atmosphere are entirely made of rock, molten or otherwise.
Well, gee whiz.
Sounds pretty rough there.
They genuinely must employ science fiction writers for this crap.
I mean,
I think they're one and the same. I think they're all science fiction writers. All of them.
It is science fiction.
It's all science fiction.
Look,
it has to be.
Look,
it's just completely fabricated shit.
Hello. We don't see this often. At the top of the page, it says authored by.
Oh, does it? Authored by?
Or, journalism or anything?
And the picture says artist's impression.
Oh, I didn't catch the artist's impression. Okay.
It's authored.
Let's see what this is.
They would have basically got a radio signal, like a cheap or a something like that, and they would have said, "Oh, that's an exoplanet," and went on to describe it like that. It's like radio telescopes they use, so they're picking up a frequency and deciding, "Oh, that's a planet. Oh, that's got winds of this." They just make up shit, man.
So how many beep boops do they need to know which is when it's a planet or a galaxy? What's the amount of rings that they need to know what signal it is?
They hired Gilu to help them interpret the data.
So if it's 4 beeps, it's a galaxy, or if it's 3 beeps, it's a planet. What's the difference?
They've got. You should listen. The classic one was. They had a big announcement. I think it was 2 black holes colliding or something colliding. They picked up the sound of this. It's called the chirp. They called it the chirp, right? You should hear this. It's ridiculous, man. They say that this is the sound of these 2 black holes coming closer together, and that's them exploding. And it's about a 1 second clip. It's called the chirp. It's ridiculous, man. It's a radio, so they're just picking up radio signals.
Let me see if I can play this for the audience here. This is the sound of 2 black holes colliding. Huh?
What was that? Oh.
Yeah, you guys won't be able to hear it in the Discord, but I'll put the link in there so you can play it on YouTube. You can
hear it though, yeah? You can hear it.
Yeah, I can hear it.
You're gonna laugh.
The audience can hear it, yeah.
Lovely.
All right, I'm going to play it right now. Let's see what 2 black holes colliding sounds like. Oh, come on, man. What was that?
Hey, listen, it sounds like somebody farting in a bath. Excuse to be crude, but I'm sorry. It does.
It sounds exactly like that.
It sounds like somebody blowing bubbles in a bath, man. Or something.
You saying it sounds like a fart bubble?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, you're right. That's about the best analogy I can think of. Yeah, you're right.
Right, and you should have seen what they did. They done a link up all over the world, right? They weren't allowed, and they released it at the same time. They done one from CERN, they done one in another lab, but they done this link up, and now listen, they played that, and that sound got a standing ovation from all these scientists.
What?
All the scientists that were there, seriously, they stood up and they cheered. They were cheering and clapping because of that sound there, mate.
Can anyone tell me what is it exactly that scientists do? Like, are they looking in the microscope, 24/7, writing down formula? Like, what is it that these people do?
I think it depends on what kind of scientist you are, I would guess, but I honestly, I have no idea. They could just be screwing around all day for all I know.
I think that's what they do. I think like the elites or whoever's in charge wants something built, and they tell them that it's something else in order for them to build them, and they're building these parts, and they have no idea what they're actually building. They're just like putting shit together.
Well, that's kind of what happened when they built the atomic bomb, right? Back in the 40s for World War II. And not everybody knew what the hell they were building. They just order like, yeah, give me one of these dimensions, this material, etc.
Yeah, it seems like that's the case with scientists. Like, it doesn't seem like they know everything that's going on in that lab.
No,
they just seem to be like the parts maker and stuff. Like, they really have no clue like what's going on. Like, it's like we have this impression that scientists, like, they have every calculation and they know everything. That they have no idea what's going on in the lab, because most of the time those labs are not even funded by them.
Oh, a lot of it is government funding. There's a huge overlap, and I'm sure there's a huge overlap between the intelligence agencies and scientists, quote unquote.
I mean, of course, it's like people automatically assume that if you decide to be a scientist, whatever the hell that means, that automatically you come out with like $1 billion in funding. You know what? That doesn't work like that. You got to go work for somebody. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you're just going to start inventing shit right away. That's not how that works.
And if you look at a lot of the inventions, though, Matrix, they were found by accident. They were accidents in a laboratory. They were looking for something else, and they've discovered, like most discoveries were discovered by accident, kind of thing. So here's an interesting thing. Like uranium and plutonium and that, they're not naturally radioactive. So you don't have that in or that level of radioactivity in reality. They have to start a process. So man, they'll say, oh, look at this radiation coming off this plutonium or uranium or whatever. This is natural. It's not, because man has to, I think they knock off an electron or something like that, and it starts a process of it decaying, and that's when it starts radiating. But without that, uranium's not radioactive until man messes about with it. So they're basically, it's not a natural event occurring, and then they'll say, well, that's happening in the moon. It's got to be processed. Uranium and plutonium, it's got to be processed by man to make it radioactive. So it's not really. Maybe I'm.
No, I get what you're saying. But we got a comment in the chat. Hey, listen to this. Gently says, your source is known and proven fake news. Why do you guys always present fake news as if it were legitimate? I assume he's talking about Zero Hedge, which was just going over some information that they got from the Royal Astronomical Society, as you can see here on the screen for this hell planet. So please tell me, Gently, which one were you talking about? Were you talking about the monthly notices of the Royal Astronomical Society? Is that the fake news? Or were you talking about Zero Hedge? I guess if it's not on NBC or CBS or what? I mean, what is a good source to you? I could probably find the same thing on there, since these journalists amplify whatever message they're told to amplify all over the place.
A good source for Globers is anything that's from authority.
I guess so. Well, this is authority. It doesn't get more authoritative in science than this. Oxford academic,
Especially if you're charismatic. If you're a charismatic scientist, or what they call a scientific communicator, everything that you say is the truth.
Yeah.
Okay, if he doesn't like rocks, we can give him diamonds. Which
well, let's give him the diamonds. It rains diamonds.
Exactly, brother. We'll take the rocks. We'll raise you some diamonds there, brother.
Yeah.
Have you guys done the research on the diamonds? That them shits are not even, they're worthless.
No, there's a planet that rains diamonds, a moon.
Neptune. Well, that's Neptune, I think. They're saying Neptune
is it
now.
Neptune? I forget which one it is.
Oh my God, is it?
Yeah, it rains diamonds.
We're gonna get back into this. Let's see if we can avoid
Jupiter.
it.
They say Jupiter does the same.
It's Uranus. It's Uranus.
It's Uranus.
Oh no!
I saw that at a BMV. I saw that on a Fun Facts at a BMV. It rains diamonds on Jupiter. How ridiculous is that?
What is a BMV?
At the fucking BMV. The BMV, the Bureau of Motor Vehicles.
Oh, okay. What
Like,
the
why would they
hell?
have that? I'm waiting in line to get my license renewed. Why would they have that on the fun facts banner? You know?
I guess just in case you're going to take a drive on Jupiter, you might want to know it's raining diamonds.
It's also part of the indoctrination process. Is they have to put that information everywhere.
They found a planet where you toss the salad twice a day, every day.
What did you just say? Repeat that, Jimbo, please.
They actually claim that there's a planet that only grows marijuana. They actually claim that there's a place in the galaxy that if you stuck a straw out the spaceship, you could suck in alcohol. They play the fantasies and.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I saw an article the other day that said they've discovered an asteroid that they say is worth, I can't remember the number, but it was like $10,000 billion trillion, which, and I didn't even bother to read it. Now, no doubt it was made of gold or diamonds or whatever. And I just thought, how many people will read this and go, wow, instead of thinking, okay, that's only valued at what we value it at, because that whatever that thing is scarce on Earth. But if you bring that asteroid to Earth, that commodity would be worth less than dirt. So, Ali B said before about a story, the two black holes colliding was ridiculous. That's not what's ridiculous. What is ridiculous is that people believe this crap.
Yeah.
Not only that,
that's the part that's ridiculous.
Right now.
Well, I'm in that group
and,
for almost 50 years was buying
Cody.
that crap,
That's beyond you guys, man.
It's almost like it's in our DNA to believe them. Like it's like we don't have a choice.
If you don't have other information and no one ever says you should doubt it, then you just accept it, like I did for the better part of 50 years.
That's true. Essie, you got kind of stepped on there. What'd you say?
I said they believe it, and we have C4 and Toady, and they're insulting us. We're a bunch of dummies. We don't know what we're talking about. And C4 said, well, because you guys don't understand why it rains diamonds. Why didn't you come on, bro, and explain it to us?
Come on, guys. You can't call us stupid for not believing these fairy tales. This is like Santa Claus drinks tea in the afternoon. Come on, dude. This is ridiculous stuff.
Yeah.
Don't insult us.
Don't leave us in our stupidity. Come and explain why we're stupid, guys. Come on.
Yeah, of course. You guys are welcome.
A planet with the North Pole with another Santa's sleigh and workshop.
Seriously, Tony, you believe it rains diamonds, bro, on a planet? Come on, man.
Santa's shop on another planet they found. And reindeer.
Hey, the sky must be made up. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Hey, Toady, if you want to come on and tell us why, about why we're dumb for not believing these things, if that's what you said, about the diamonds and the hell planet and all this stuff, then please come on. We'll also can talk about the pyramids after we get through with that. I'd love to have you on to talk about the pyramids a little bit. But channel's open, man. Anyway. So you guys said there was a planet that you can drink alcohol from a straw. Is that a true story, Jimbo?
No, a place in the galaxy.
Brandon's thinking, give me the coordinates.
It's like they have like a lottery of stories that they pick a random story every day to give us.
Jose one citation for that, Jimbo.
Hell, use a garden hose.
I want to go to that planet, man.
Yeah, right. That's some weird stuff, but there's a couple other sentences on this hell planet I wanted to read. Where did I go? Did I get away from it? Here it is. No, that's not it. Is it? Sorry about that. According to the study, K2141b is one of the latest lava planets discovered, where this world orbits so closely to its sun that it almost grazes the star's surface as it completes its revolution. So there's more than one of these lava planets. This one is just special for some reason.
And in the galactic scheme of things, what does almost grazes the star's surface really mean? How close are we talking?
Isn't there a planet?
And that amount of energy, how can it be rotating that close to its power source without colliding to its power source? I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
What kind of physics explain that shit?
Here's another one. How come if we suddenly we know all this shit about this particular planet that's 100? What is it? How many light years away, Brandon?
Hundreds, it says.
Hundreds. Okay, so how come we can't get detailed an analysis and information on everything between here and there?
Because they will get caught.
Yeah, I think we could bust them out on that. Yeah, let's see
Well,
here.
You
listen,
mean like
we're
on the
getting-
Earth and the Moon?
If we
Well,
know the speed of the wind and the makeup of the planet and it's raining rocks, but you can't tell us much about something that's 2 light years away. How does that work?
I don't
Well,
know.
They
if you
can't
look
even
at the
tell us
sun-
what we have under our oceans, and we could access the oceans. You know what I'm saying? People don't know nothing.
Listen to this. Well, its ocean of magma reaches depths of 86 miles. How the hell would they know how deep the ocean of magma is?
When they
Sure
don't even
enough.
know what's at the center of the Earth.
Come
They know a
on.
planet millions of billions of miles away. What's at the center? If
I
they
don't know
say
what's at the
La La
bottom of the
Land, I don't
Mariana
believe
Trench.
Freaking lasers, man.
Freaking lasers.
Oh boy, this is too much here. I'm just reading through this to try to see if there's anything else ridiculous in it. I guess that's ridiculous enough. But I knew you guys would get a kick out of this. And mind you, I'll repeat it one more time. This was printed in the Royal Astronomical Society. So this is a peer-reviewed paper.
How could you doubt them? They're the authority.
I don't know.
How dare you even imply that it would be dishonest?
Ask a weatherman.
You know, I'd like a job like that. I don't know. What kind of degrees do you have to have a job where you sit around and make up what's going on in planets that are 100 light years away? That sounds pretty fun, actually.
You have to have all
Maths
of them,
and
Brandon. You
physics.
have to have all of them degrees, all of them.
It's a degree in creative writing.
I have a question for you guys.
You need your BS for bullshit, your MS for more of the same, and your PhD for piled higher and deeper.
Have you guys seen it's sort of related to this? It's just what they present as evidence, right? So, do you guys see where they used glass beads to reduce the melting of the Arctic? Have you guys seen that? Where they supposedly drop a whole bunch of glass beads on the surface of like an iceberg or, you know, the terrain that they're flying over to reduce the melting. Would that make sense, using a glass bead?
Well, as far as I know,
Wouldn't that do the opposite?
Exactly.
Like, in
Exactly.
a car, your windshield lets in the long heating rays, and it bakes inside your car.
Yeah, no, I know that. I'm
Glass.
sort of being.
So in your home, it lets long rays in. I mean, no, glass normally doesn't work that way.
So if you look, they have a project where they literally spray glass beads in the Arctic to prevent it from melting. And I'll tell you the project. It's called Future Plan. It's for the purpose of greenhouse gas emission, right? But it's called the Arctic Ice Project. And it's of course by a non-profit organization. And yeah, so they're using glass beads to reduce ice loss. So just like how it rains diamonds on Uranus.
Non-profit when someone's paying them, like Soros or one of these foundations.
Yeah, let's dig into this and see who this is. But I found an article here. It should be on screen. Preventing the loss of Arctic ice by spraying it with glass. What could go wrong?
Do they put this forward because it's not, and because there's really not any organization reputable attached to it except for maybe the Tides Foundation or Make Way, now it's called. I think it's called Make Way, which is Rockefeller, But is this the way they get away with it? Is they present it as science, but then the people who are doing it are nonprofit. So it really has no accountability. Because last I checked, anytime you mix sunlight and glass, you can create heat. So I'm not certain. certain.
Little magnifying glasses. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm not certain why they're doing this. So I just wanted to bring to your attention.
A little bit of detail about glass is ice cream industry uses glass to seed ice cream crystals and stuff. So a lot of them have it in the list of ingredients. It's far down, but it's used to seed crystal and get the ice cream to form.
Yeah, it says so. They're trying to reflect the light. That's the idea, right? By spraying.
Yeah.
Is this something they're actually doing, or is this a proposal? I didn't catch that in the article. Data.
It looks like they're doing it. If they've got a nonprofit and Soros or one of those, billionaires is funding it, it's getting done. The tonnage they want is being poured. Whatever the results are going to be, they're going to be.
This is a NASA thing. This is, by the way, it's one of their partners is NASA Earth Exchange, which represents a new collaboration platform for the Earth science community that provides a mechanism for scientific collaboration and knowledge sharing. Next combines state-of-the-art supercomputing, Earth system modeling, workflow management, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that means we're funding it basically. If NASA is giving money and input to that, we're giving money to NASA. It's by proxy. Again, they're funding it with the public money.
That's right.
And claiming going through a nonprofit that's, voluntary contributions. It's not. NASA takes our money, it's issued to them, and they do as they wish with it. That's nothing voluntary about that, and that's not a nonprofit getting from voluntary contributions, because they wouldn't get enough money to spray their ice over there, and people would wonder about the freaking project in the first place.
Yep. So the mission statement, the objective of the NASA Earth Exchange is to bring scientists together with the tools, massive global data sets, and supercomputers necessary to accelerate research in Earth systems, science, and global change. So this is obviously a climate change thing, right?
It's based on the greenhouse gas emission and sort of the reduction to the melting of the caps. I believe they started to do parts of it in Antarctica as well. I saw something briefly on it. So they were trying to do these particular experiments, if you will. But what I wanted to mention is that it appears that it's always 180 of what the intentions are. If you look at the black balls that they put into the reservoir in California, there, one of the largest reservoirs there, they put all these black balls. Now, last I checked, when black absorbs heat, which would produce, evaporation.
More evaporation,
right?
Yeah.
So you look at these particular methods, and I haven't dug into them, see if there's actually any science or reasoning behind it. It's just first glance, it seems really odd because of what the underlying understanding is already, glass produces heat, with sunlight. Black absorbs sunlight, produces heat, which would produce evaporation. These seem to be basic understandings of the physical world around us. So when I see articles like this, do you guys get the same impression I am, is that they're literally doing a 180 and they don't care because they're doing it through nonprofit?
Well, plastic leaches out these things that are harmful for kidneys and liver and build up in our blood. Why would they put all this stuff that leaches out toxins into a reservoir where people drink from? And these plastics, they all decay after a certain amount of time. It's not overnight. They don't disintegrate like puffballs or something, but they're breaking down. It takes a while. It's going down into the water.
The climate change people, what's one of their big screams from the rooftops? It's, the ice caps are melting. Antarctica's melting. The North Pole, the glaciers are melting. They love it. That's one of their big, emotional strings that they pull. And so if they're no longer shrinking, which they're not, then what better thing to do than deliberately go out and melt them so you can keep crying it?
Yeah, they're basically weaponizing the weather more and more. This might actually be an attack on the North to see what's under it, mine some diamonds or whatever they might find. Like they want more lithium. They don't have enough in, Amazon and I guess it's up near Iraq and Iran and Afghanistan. They want more sources. Look how much lithium they need. It's endless. They know they're going to run out where they're mining it now.
Any idea how much money they're spending on this every year? Data, because this is tied into like bigger stuff too. This Arctic Circle organization looks like they're partnered with a bunch of people.
It's nonprofit, so I imagine if you wanted access to the records, you could get it. You could get a technical analysis on that. But as far as I know, in Canada, because of a couple of reporters and journalists out here, Yeah, 10, 20, 30 million, which is not a lot of money, but that's per organization. How many nonprofits are getting these kind of handouts, right? Is there 5, 6 of them? Well, that's 100 million, right? So give or take, right? So it is quite a bit of money. And if you're thinking what they're paying for, you're paying for articles written, media spots, and loose science. So I don't know how much that costs. So I imagine that it's just to pay the activism. It's to pay the person, $50 an hour or $100 an hour to go out and be an activist for the cause. Right?
Well,
so
here in Canada, you have the advantage too, if you have a nonprofit organization, of keeping 85% of the money for office and administrative purposes. If you get $1 million in, the office can keep 850,000 and only put, like in glass beads over the Arctic, $150,000 worth of glass beads, because they only have to, put in that difference. Administratively, you get to keep 85% of the money to run your office.
Right.
Pay
Yeah.
your people, whatever.
That's true too, right? The office expenses are a large majority of the write-offs. That's usually the case.
Yeah, this is like a worldwide thing. This is how this is one of those other things where they collect money and spread it out among these different political organizations. It's all a part of that feeding at the trough ecosystem for the government.
Yeah, it's all loopholed through nonprofit organization. I know they were trying to do something recently here in Canada to tighten it up, but you definitely in America, I know that you have access to that. I believe you should have access to that. We do in Canada here. Can dig up these nonprofit organizations and see what the government, shelled out for money through the Freedom of Information Act. Yeah. But it costs money, right? Every act that you file for, depending on what they're hiding or what they're doing, it costs money. It can cost you anywhere up to like $5,000 just to have a little bit of freedom released, right?
And they still have that blackout marker ink, like with FOIA documents.
Yeah. You see what they. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You see what they did with the we thing here. They had the ethics commissioner to order the destruction of the we documents. An ethics person who Justin Trudeau was accused of 3 ethics violations plus obstruction during an investigation somehow gets the ethics commissioner to throw out the paperwork. So that's where we're at.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Definitely, if somebody's interested in climate change, they might want to look into that more. It's all part of the same crap.
If you put a convex face on glass, doesn't it make a magnifying glass?
Yep.
So I wonder if we could get I'd love to see what one of these little beads looks like. You could see lots of magnifying glasses over the ice. That'd be
Actually,
great.
broken bottles and broken glass have started forest fires.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Any type of magnification, you can be in trouble with heat generation and stuff.
Well, for me, it makes me go, where did I get it wrong? Because if they're using glass beads, like I said, anybody who's fooled around with glass in the sunlight knows that you can create fire with it. So when I see this kind of stuff, it's like, where am I going wrong? What are they seeing that I don't see?
Well, they make huge screens out of glass beads too for projections and, television type screens and stuff, partly for 3D, partly for other stuff. But these glass beads don't obstruct any of the light. Well, hot, cold, or yellow, or blue.
What these guys are saying though is that it's white. They're trying to make it whiter. It's the color that's what this says here.
So it can reflect it more, right? That was the whole response. They want to reflect more of the sunlight. Yeah.
Yeah.
The point is that when you look at sunlight passing through glass, it concentrates the light.
The heat.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? Okay.
So when it does concentrate the light, it creates heat. Last I checked. But what am I going wrong? So they're getting away with, because they claim all this stuff is peer reviewed, right? So when I read this particular stuff of glass beads being spread over the surface of ice, they're telling us, it's reflecting, therefore it's going to be cooler, So that's, because to me, if it's peer reviewed, it just seems so ridiculous that how could that possibly be peer reviewed unless somebody's actually done the experiment?
I imagine they've done something. I would hope, but no idea.
So the results would be, in everybody's opinion, here on the panel, that technically, because glass would concentrate the light, it would create heat, therefore melt the ice. This is the common understanding.
I don't know. I mean, if it reflects if it bounces all the, or whatever, reflects the light off of it, I would imagine that, if it doesn't absorb it, I guess it could work.
So, Brandon, does the article explain what it does or how they do it or why they do it?
I'm kind of going through it right now. There's a paper. We can open that in a minute, but I noticed something up here. This is the latest entry in a series of large-scale climate manipulation proposals known as solar geoengineering. The idea is that we can offset some of the warming caused by heat trapping greenhouse gases by reducing the amount of sunlight that adds heat to the planet. The best known of these ideas is to scatter aerosol particles in the upper atmosphere to reflect some of the sun's light back into space.
I.e. the aerosol dispersion program that they recruit pilots to, and not the chem spray. But if you look up aerial dispersion, you'll find tons of stuff on these chem sprays, what they're spraying, including like reports on the bacteria and stuff they pump out in liquid form.
Doesn't that just seem like a horrible idea? Spraying particles into the atmosphere to reflect sunlight. It just strikes me as something really stupid.
You know that mylar, that glitter that kids wear at parties and stuff? It's kind of decorative. You can put it on your face and it's like glitter.
Yeah.
Okay. There are days they're spraying stuff above, and a few days later, the ground is covered with this glitter. It's like they had a kids' party everywhere.
Right. I mean, that just seems really like something you wouldn't want to do, is spray stuff above everybody. I don't know, man. These guys are doing crazy shit.
We're going to save nature. We're going to save nature by spraying man-made shit everywhere.
Yeah.
So here's the guy who's in charge of it. His name is David Keith. You want to type in the David Keith group. He's from Calgary, Alberta, and he's the one heading the geoengineering program at Harvard. He's been at TED Talks. He's been on video talking and admitting up to tens of thousands of people have side effects and possibly die from the experiment. But you can type in the David Keith group. Also, if you want to, I suppose, play a double standard here and make money off of the carbon tax, these are the kind of people that are trying to build technology to just suck carbon into the air and turn it into blocks so they can bury it for later use. But this guy, David Keith group, if you type in the David Keith group, actually, or even Harvard David Keith,
it's on the screen.
Nice. It will have his explanation of what they're trying to do, how long the plan's been going for. You'd be surprised. It's been actually going on for quite a long time. And then there's a partnership between Canada and United States for this program. I don't know how much it happens in California, but I imagine it happens the same on the West Coast, that is, through BC to California. And I've confronted several RCMP about it here in Canada. I've sent an email to media relations with my top 10 list, you say. As an wannabe investigative journalist, you have lots of questions to ask. And a lot of the stuff the RCMP came back with me told me they're under investigation. And then there's only a handful of RCMPs that have loosely admitted to the geoengineering with my own personal, questioning. And then most of them, they mock most of them. What they do is they have a body language, they have a pantomime, and it's very consistent. Some of them will wince, like they'll wince at the question, and then they'll say, well, that's above my pay grade. So that's the common response I get from RCMP officers here in Canada. And some of them sympathize. Some of them are good guys. And they literally go, well, what do you want me to do? I can't do anything. And they're just that straight up about it.
What are you asking them to do? I don't understand.
Well, I asked them about geoengineering. I said, what do you think about them spraying the skies? I should ask them straight out, just like that. And they'll be like, they'll either wince, they'll have a pantomime, they'll have something that, because nobody's generally, unless you're taught to lie or you're a spy or an espionage guy, then, but average Joe, RCMP cop guy, man, they got tons of tells. At least that's my, anyway. The point is that when you ask them straight up, They'll have a reaction to it. I've had people, some cops go, no, I don't want to look at the flat Earth theory. Don't want to look at it. They know of it. They know what the side effect of it is. That's why they won't look into it, right? So they're woke. What's going on? Of course, they have to be, right? Unless it is below their pay grade. But most of them know what's going on. They can't do much about it.
Sure. I'm reading this about solar engineering benefits and risks. However, any benefits come with novel risks and significant uncertainty. For example, while the latest science might show some benefits globally, local impacts could vary more widely. That sounds like a for the greater good statement right there. Like, we're gonna spray this stuff over here, and it's gonna screw these people up. But
yeah, but think about the illogic of that. Just like the illogic of the baller definition of what horizontal is. Well, it's a local horizontal. Well, what is that? It's a point. Okay, so if you have a deficit in a local proximity, if you do this, how the fuck is it going to benefit if you make it bigger?
Well, if you want to bring up along that as well, why don't you go to NASA?
Hold on.
Oh, sorry, Travis.
Yeah, that's okay. If my question was sound, I'd like just a little bit of confirmation. Like, yeah, that makes sense. But let me say it just one more time. If you do something that is damaging locally, then how the fuck, if you make it bigger than local, once it goes global, is it a benefit?
Like, the way I took this statement to read, yeah, that's a good question. I suppose we're going to block all the light over fucking Greenland or whatever, and it's really going to screw up Greenland, and this crap's going to fall down to the ground, and it's going to contaminate the water, and it's going to, do whatever. It's going to have any harmful over Greenland. But globally, we're going to reduce the temperature by 1.1 Celsius over 50 years and save us all. Some shit like that.
If you want to add to this conversation as well, why don't you quickly search up that it's the greenest it's ever been in 20 years. Right? And this is referring back to that Beads article again, is if they're telling you something, but is it always going to be 180?
Well,
what they're saying is it going to be 180 of what they're saying, right? So they're saying that they're trying to cool it down, but I think they're trying to heat it up.
Well, that's an interesting thought. Yeah.
Well, because the way I look at it is when you want to trap something, you let the sun come out for a period of time, then you spray over top of it in that particular location, and then you move across the grid depending on how many hours ahead the sun is. So if you're like 6 hours ahead, you're going to spray 6 hours after the sun has left that location. All that radiant heat is going to come up. It's going to be trapped under the aerosol, right? That's the way I look at it. I don't look at it as them preventing the rays, because it looks like they're spraying after the sun, right? It could be before, technically the next day, but at the end of the day, there's 6 hours. The sun comes out for 6 hours, they spray, right? And as it goes, as it goes through its cycle, they're just following a 6 hour pattern.
Right.
Chasing the sun 6 hours, you know what I mean? So whatever, maybe it's 12 hours. I'm just giving an arbitrary number. The idea is to trap the heat, because if they trap the heat, they can say, oh, that's climate change. Look at the irregularities. Look at the high pressures of storms. Right? Because it's the that's what I know low pressure is what creates it all, but don't you need a lot of high pressure to get a lot of low? It would seem that to be the case, right?
Is any of your guys' YouTube working?
Why? What's going on? Is it dropping frames again?
It's like buffering. Everything is like buffering.
It's telling me I got a good connection, that there's no buffering going on. I'm not seeing anybody in chat say anything.
No, it's dead. It's dead everywhere. You can't load any videos right now.
Probably still recording well at Google or at
no, I think YouTube is down.
You think so?
Yeah, I know YouTube is down all over the place. I just talked to people all over the country, all over the world. So it's down.
10 days of darkness, fellas. You ready? 10 days of no internet coming. Ready for it?
10 days of no internet.
This place will turn into a fucking Escape from New York, dude.
There's some weird shit going on, isn't there?
Yeah, that's a lot of weird shit going on.
This thing, I want to say one more thing about this thing before we move off of it. This other statement here, there are a lot of other scientific uncertainties that are not well understood, not least enormous governance challenges. And this tells me right here that they've already got probably a huge operation doing this shit, testing it out, studying the longitudinal results of spraying in one area and that kind of shit. And I wonder if there's any information out there about that, because they're not going to say that there's these risks without benefits without actually going through and doing the studies, whether they tell us about it or not.
Actually, David Keith's on record, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't have that video handy, but he's on record saying that people will die. And the acknowledgement is that tens of thousands of people will die from it. And it's just, that's part of the cause, right? So they do admit deaths are going to be resulting from it.
Yeah, and this is all connected to NASA. That's how we got here, was through that beads thing, which they're connected to NASA, and NASA's all over this thing too. Pretty weird crap.
YouTube seems to be working.
Yeah, I'm still getting messages that we're connected, but looks like there's not very many people in there, so maybe there's some of them probably gave up because of the long delay, but maybe people are having trouble connecting or whatever. I assumed it was Xfinity because I was getting slow internet service all over my house with different devices. But anyway, all right. Well, that's some interesting stuff, Flat Earth Data. I'd love to see those videos where he's saying that there's going to be people who die and shit. And you know what? I kind of have this suspicion.
You honestly could just go to probably YouTube right now and search David Keith, a geoengineering interview, and it'll probably come up. It's probably still online. So they tell you, man.
Yeah, they tell you one way or the other, but I don't think people understand the impact. Oh, look at how slow this thing is.
Well, it's just like cigarettes, right? Cigarette smoking is the same thing. They tell you it causes cancer, but it takes 20 years, it takes 30 years, 40, 50 years. So my thing with the geoengineering is that the Earth, like within the last 2-3 years, I believe there's been a couple of articles talking about how green the Earth is. And then at the same time, you've got these, extremists, climate extremists saying that the ecosystems are dying, and then they'll tell you, green is good for critters. Earth being green is good for wildlife and animals and food production. So what are these people talking about?
They're talking about this greater good bullshit. That's how these guys think. And I understand.
But the Earth is greener. Did you not?
Yeah.
This is what I what I have yet to like actually confront, because I've been in like different places and confronting climate, and people are just as like when Flat Earth was first introduced, that's how climate activists respond, being asked questions about their paradigm.
Yeah.
Flat Earth is different now because you can actually approach somebody and they're more receptive to it. But still, climate, when you have somebody who's polarized about climate, it's a vicious conversation. Within 2 minutes, it'll turn vicious.
Well, if you want to talk to someone, I know Professor Phil gets into that kind of stuff pretty deep. He's all about climate change.
It's when I talk about people on the street, like if somebody's really, they're generally polarized to it, worse than Flat Earth.
Oh, for sure. It's political too. It's all tied up in politics as well. That's why. Especially in the United States, it's one of those, if you believe this, you're on the left. If you believe this, you're on the right. There's not much crossover. So they've done a good job of splitting the population on that issue for sure, which allows them to.
Bill Nye says that people who deny global warming should go to jail and stuff.
Oh, well, they're teaching all of our kids, that anybody that doesn't believe the planet's warming is, a murderer, essentially, when you boil it down.
Yeah, they've basically got both sides believing that the other side genuinely poses an existential threat to them.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Well, talking about that, about the kids there, Brandon, I had a conversation with my daughter about 2 years ago about climate change, right? And she repeated, she was more educated in it than I was, and as in regarding the mainstream. She was quoting figures and everything. I was like, wait a minute here. Wait, how can someone at 15 and it was like listening to a politician, or so they're actually creating the, because, and she was getting angry, she was getting triggered, like it was like I was talking to a ball earther. She was getting triggered, kind of thing, you know, and it was quite strange. It was quite shocking, actually, to
Well,
actually
she has to back
experience.
her peers, and that'll be kind of against your rub.
But
she has peers.
Yeah, exactly. But it was just weird how much information she was clued up in. She was still at school, man. They're teaching this at school.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I mean, she was so well clued up, Brandon, Jimbo.
My daughter brings it home too, in like her science stuff, or in the propaganda that they're given to the kids through many different channels, cartoons, shows on TV, the news, everywhere. They have information coming up. The propaganda says it's all emotionally charged. It's like save our planet and stuff, you know.
Yep.
They've equated being a good person with believing that we're all on a fast train to, you know, turning into this hell earth.
Well, it's what a movie director does. His whole sole purpose is to draw someone into the movie. You know, when you watch a good movie, you think that was brilliant.
Well, they follow a classic format. They
tie it,
or a monster.
Well, they have, right? Yeah, Jim. Yeah, but Jimbo, yeah, I agree with you. There's a great book out there. It's called In Film. It's called, and it basically breaks down all the archetypes and the good cop, bad cop, or the, you know, the double partnership. But I was just saying that the fact is that they're you know, they're indoctrinating this thing into our kids through the media.
Oh, for sure.
It's quite shocking, and it's quite scary, actually. It was quite a weird experience, but yeah, they just they've got I think they've got the workings of the human brain kind of sorted out, and they've realised, you know, that just a quick one, Albert Henry Huxley, he was like the guy that ran about promoting evolution. He wrote a book about Darwin and wrote a lot about evolution. But what he wrote a book about, and this is back in the early 1800s, he wrote a book about is how to educate young gentlemen through images. And I thought, well, that says it all, because obviously for him to write that book, they must have had at that time quite an advanced understanding of the psychology of kids.
Give me the name of that again.
It was it's a hard book to find again, because I searched for it. It's called How to Educate Young Gentlemen Through Images. That was the heading of the book. But I've tried to look for that again, Brandon. I can't. It was on archive.org, and it was written by Albert Henry Huxley, I think it was.
Oh, Albert.
He was called. Yeah, right. Well, everybody knows Aldous Huxley and Julian Huxley.
Right.
You know, there is like great grandfather. That guy was his great grandfather.
Didn't they tie the Huxleys back to Darwin in terms of some kind of familial connection too? I thought they did.
I think you're right. There was like a nephew. One of them's a nephew of the other one. Yeah, there's something there.
Yeah, but he was called Darwin's bulldog because he was the main reason. He actually went about Britain and Europe promoting the theory of that evolution. He was like the main. That's what his nickname was, Darwin's bulldog. And he was basically one of the main promoters of this. I think he actually got it pushed into schools. I'm not sure.
He's a fellow of the Royal Society, by the way. Thomas Henry Huxley is his name.
That's it, Thomas Henry Huxley, sorry.
He was an English biologist and anthropologist specializing in comparative anatomy. He is known as Darwin's bulldog for his advocacy of Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. So yeah, this guy was deep in it. Man's place in nature's. I mean, yeah, he did all kinds of stuff. Adult education.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. But the thing was, see, for me to try and find that book again, I read it years ago, and I tried to find it again, and could I find it? And I couldn't even get it under his list of books. But it was him that wrote it, and I know that for a fact because I knew about Huxley. That's why I can remember.
So, what kind of stuff did he say in that book? Allie?
Oh, it was that long. It was that long ago, but it was like just basically how images or colors affected the psychology, or how we can react
Sure.
with certain colors, how they're in nature, how like animal. It was kind of. I got into about 50 pages and I gave up because it was written in this old English.
Just a hint for these old books, they've all been assigned the ISBN number and system. So when you find one, you can always ask and research the ISBN number. You'll never lose it again.
Yeah, you can actually do a search. Yeah, that's a good way to search in books, actually. Is if you have that number.
Just with that, the ISBN, and no other way. It really does a good job tracking everything, old and new. It helps. It really is a big time saver and a help.
Sure. So this guy, he was the nephew, or how's he related to the other Huxleys? Let's see here. Influenced, Aldous and Julian are listed under him, but was he like the father or?
No, I think he was a great grandfather or a grandfather. I don't think he was, or it was the one before him, because it's quite a long line of family if you look at their family tree.
And they've been involved in a lot of shit. They're at the center of a ton of shit.
Yeah.
And the Royal Society, you know, what somebody should do is just take everything the Royal Society has ever published and read through it from the beginning of the Royal Society to, you know, sometime in the 19th century.
Papers, Brandon, you can go to archive.org.
Huxley too. George Bush's wife, Huxley.
I don't know. Is it? Which one?
I thought she was Crowley. I thought she was
Could be
to Crowley.
Alistair
Crowley jumbo.
Close name. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just saying that was one of the rumors. That was one of the. That was a thing I heard as well.
Yeah, I think it was Barbara Bush was a Huxley.
Barbara Bush, that's it. Yeah.
Barbara Bush was a Huxley. No kidding.
No, and no, they reckon that Alistair Crowley was her father. You know the beast.
Or Crowley, I meant.
Yeah, Alistair Crowley. He was the father. You know, that's satanic. Yeah.
Okay.
He actually went up to Scotland. He had a place up in Scotland to do the final. He was on a mission to do because he was into demonology, and he went up to Scotland to do this final, this final ceremony. And it was basically, he sort of camped out in his house it was something like 58 days or some mad time. But he gave up halfway. I thought, yeah, you know what I mean, part-timer. You know what I mean? They're all fakes. All these people, when the shit hits the fan, or when it comes to you know coming through with the goods, you know, he was just a fake.
Oh, sure.
He was just a fake, and people believed him. You know, he just, yeah.
So this guy had, Leonard Huxley was this guy's son, and he was an author, and he was the father of Julian, Aldous, and Andrew Huxley. Julian Huxley was a fellow of the Royal Society and the first director of UNESCO. So he was all over the place doing shit. And Aldous, well, we know the story of Aldous, Brave New World, Doors of Perception.
That's a great book.
Oh, yeah. That's a really good one.
Awesome, yeah.
And Andrew Huxley, these three here won the Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine in 1963. And he was also the president of the Royal Society. So these guys are all intertwined with the Royal Society.
We've got a lineage, you know.
Yeah. Interesting family.
I think, yeah. Yeah, I think there was a concerted effort during the 1600s to do away with religion. Not personally that I'm on the fence, but I don't know. I'm pretty extreme in my demands for proof kind of thing. But if I had a choice, I would say there was more of a chance of a crater than the Big Bang, the way that they say are happening.
Yeah, no,
kind of thing.
I agree, and it seems like they were just building. They had this idea, this Ball Earth idea, and they said, "Okay, we're gonna build this up and push it," and that staunched the power of, say, the Catholics certainly, but the Church in general and religion's control over the masses.
Yeah, but they were involved. The Church was actually involved in the bringing that, actually promoting that. They actually
Yeah.
decided, right, you can say this and that, but it's a ball, and they went about promoting it, kind of thing. They actually they partook in it. It wasn't like
Which church though, Ali?
the Roman Catholic Church.
Really?
Yeah, they funded it and all this. I mean, you hear the stories about Galileo, that he was under house arrest. Go and read a book about his life story, a book that was written like 200 years ago, which you can get your hands on quite easily, and read what his punishment was, his house arrest. He was free to travel, but he had to have a sponsor. His best mate.
Funny, most people charged with heresy or anything were usually murdered by the church, you know.
Yeah, exactly, Jimbo.
So tap on the wristy type of like heretic.
Yeah.
So why would they want to move from, religion being the, order of the day to something scientific? What would be the benefit to the powers that be to move from one to the other?
Well, it could. I'll answer, and anybody else can answer.
Absolute versus relative. It's always about those two things: absolute or relative. Wouldn't you want relative thinking rather than absolute thinking?
Expand on that a little bit, because I'm not sure I understand.
No, I like that.
Well, God would be absolute. Science would be relative.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And then relative, I guess, would make a man or a woman the most powerful creature on the face of the earth, no higher power to appeal to at that point. If there is no God, then men run the world. If there's a God, then there's always a higher power. What was your thinking, Ali?
Oh, well, I was just thinking about they knew it was an inevitability that this was going to happen. They're very good at forecasting. These people are very good at projecting. They have been. The church had been around for a long time. It's not. These were guys that studied sociology. They knew how the peasants worked, how they thought. They were kind of thing. So they could have been, in my opinion, they knew it was inevitable that this was going to come out. They thought, right, just embrace it, man. They embraced paganism or all the different what do you call it, those ceremonies, summer solstice. They took all them and designed the ceremonies around old pagan or old whatever, old pagan worship days, days of worship and stuff like that. Every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like Christmas Day.
To mold, yep. Well, Christmas Day, summer solstice.
That's right.
Everything, absolutely. The whole list goes on. It was just to make the religion more acceptable when they started. So they just adapt, and they knew that was coming. They thought, right, okay, well, we'll adopt this. We'll adopt this and we'll run with it. That's just my theory. They benefited. They certainly benefited from it. They didn't lose anything, because now they have. I mean, if you look into all these telescopes and stuff like that, it was actually the Vatican. A little bit of deep digging, follow the money, and you'll find out that most of them were. I don't know what they are now, but they were owned by the Vatican. They were the forerunners of funding these telescopes and stuff on mountains and stuff like that. So it was quite a, so they actually benefit from the keeping the ball earth belief.
I wonder, that is a good point. I wonder if, as technology is ramping up, so let's just say that history's true, going back to 1600, as they're ramping up technology and the general public's getting into technology, and we can travel further and do more things and see more things and talk across the country, maybe that idea of God gets outdated. Because people are going to want to go somewhere. They're going to want to travel. They're going to want to go see what's in the middle of Antarctica. They're going to want to see what's in the middle of Arctic. So they had to concoct this story so that people's minds were trapped within this ball Earth idea. There's nowhere to go, right? Like in the Truman Show, everything's been seen before. There's nowhere to go. It's just a barren wasteland.
like you're saying, if you take God out of the equation, then man, then the next best thing, you can't control nature, obviously. So the next best thing you can try to control is another man or woman or whatever, a mind. Let's call it mind. And and so they create think tanks. So you bring up Royal Society, but there are many, what they call think tanks or whatever, before that come up with these ideas, and they do have, let's say, smart folks in there. We're all pretty smart. Your show right here, Ranty Show, is a think tank, in an aspect of one or the other. But the most valuable resource on this land that God gave us is another man, right? The mind, right? The energy. We can build shit. Beavers can build dams. I get it, but everything else is kind of just chilling. Nature, right? And so, if I can control you, Brandon, I would. Fucking A. Hell yeah, right?
There's so much to clip out of that, Aaron. You just said the best thing in the world is another man, and then if you could control me, you would. So I gotta write a timestamp down real quick.
Damn it!
That's some sick stuff there.
Yeah, Aaron, what the hell, man?
Okay, all right. Let's go back into out of context. Yeah, it sounds funny.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Kind of the idea. If I can,
Yeah.
if another mind could control another mind, right? That's the most powerful thing in our world, my world, I think, right? And I realized that my mind was being controlled by just fake sources, TVs, screens, right? Just nothing real, nothing. It was just threats, right? Oh, asteroids are gonna hit me, or immigrants are invading, or terrorists are coming, and now it's total mind control. And if we had the money and the power and the status and all that shit to control just a shitload of other minds, I mean, I'm not saying I would do it, but that's kind of what I feel is happening.
You can understand the desire to do that, but they've essentially set it up so that we're not slaves, but they certainly aren't equals with us. They don't have to worry about money. They can do whatever they want. They can go wherever they want. They can control whoever they want. So it is like they're kings and queens, but they've set it up so that they don't really look like kings and queens.
Well, you and I, they throw around that word society, right? So when you and I, if I say that, I don't follow a certain rule, I'll get chastised by another member of what we call society, right? Humans, and they'll be like, "Oh, you have to follow the rules because I have to follow the rules. We all have to do this and do that." Well, the Royal Society sets themselves up just by the title as a separate society, right? Something different than you and me, right? But they throw us that word, and it gets yelled at folks like us, like, "Well, you're not, science denier, you're not part of society," and all this shit. So.
Right, science denier.
Sorry, Brandon.
No, go ahead, SE. Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to piggyback on what Ali said before. When they were saying why would they do that? Why would they, promote the solar system, right? Well, Ali's onto something. They go with the flow, like in the old days, right? They used to crucify Christians, right? Then Christianity became such a big movement. What did the Emperor Constantine do? He made Christianity an official religion. So once they see that the wave, they cannot no longer hold the wave, they don't just go with the wave, they become the wave. They take over the wave, like with the Big Bang. Who came up with it? A Jesuit trained Catholic priest. So they infiltrate and they become the opposition. It's really
Nicely
freaky
put,
stuff,
Essie.
man. Yeah.
Nicely put. I like that. That was a good analogy.
I'd like to add to that, SC, like and I've talked to Travis about this, and I've even mentioned on the show, the globe had to be created because when a man, let's say a king or whatever, tries to be God on earth, they already know that church and state do not mix. You cannot mix church and state. Okay, church is flat earth and kindness and grow. It just you know what church is, right? Just humanism. Okay, state is control and being creating subjects and just ultimate control. So man wants to be God on earth, like Brandon said, but you can't mix the two. Okay, church is flat earth, state. They had to create this image called the land you live on and present it to you so that and make you a subject through language and propaganda and just teaching of where you came from, right? You only exist because me, the king or whatever, right? And so that globe is just a created symbol of your basically your mind that is subject to another authority called a man.
Well, if you look at the prime meridian and Greenwich time, you look at the world of trade, and there is writings back in the day. Now, I know this is kind of sound comical, but there's writings back in the day of peasants, let's say, or burgeoning sailors. They're afraid of falling off the edge of the earth. We all heard that, right? So to promote global trade, you would have a global view of the world, which was a sphere. So if you could use it into shipping and come back, you could prove that the earth's a ball with your ship, right? Because all the peasants thought the edge of the earth was just there, but the boats came back, therefore the earth's a ball. It's just a simple deception of introducing global trade and globalism.
Yeah, and I'm not sure the peasants thought that the earth was edgeless, had an edge or something, but I get you, Effie. Data and
listen,
but
there's
listen,
writing,
a
there's
fiction.
writings.
Remember when you're talking about these corporations that are starting to form up, right? That's a fiction. It only exists on paper, right? So the East India Trading Company, all these corporations, Carnegie Steel, J.P. Rockefeller, whatever, they only exist on paper. Because man has to agree with another man to at least create this subjective type business where you can get subjects, basically slaves, peasants, to work for you, and you can be the controller of them. But if a fiction can never control a man or woman, unless we consent, right? And we do, and we have, and we continue to consent to these fictions. Even government is a fiction. The Constitution only exists on paper. It's not like it's this rock solid, God-given thing.
Yeah.
Right? You rip up the Constitution, what happens?
No, that is a good point. It is a fiction. We all have to buy into it. And that's why I always say, like the media couldn't fool people if people just said, fuck that, I'm not going to listen to them. The government couldn't make people go to war and do stupid things if people, lived on their ideas and were well informed and had critical thinking skills and stood up and said, no, we're not going. That's retarded. We're not going to go take this country over. We're not going to go kill these people. And that was, they taught us that idea a lot because they used that against the Nazis. Remember, they said, oh, well, they shouldn't have followed orders. That's not a good enough excuse. But I'll be damned if they don't want us to follow orders and listen to them and listen to authority at every chance. And we get reminded on a daily basis of how we deny this and deny that. Well, fucking A, we deny it because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to live by some kind of standards and ideals, based in logic and reason, and not just follow people. And that's what they're trying to set up. There's a great movie. Sorry, I'm going on and on, but there's a great movie called Hypernormalization. And it talks about how the leadership style kind of shifted. And they say it was Putin who came up with this idea of putting so much disinformation into the population that people couldn't figure out what was right and what was wrong, what was true or what was false. So they could create cults of personality to follow people, and people would root for the person or the organization like football teams. instead of getting behind the plans, the ideas, etc. And they could control people much easier that way with cult of personality.
Brandon, if you look up real quick, I believe it's CIA Director William Casey quote. It's one of his quotes. You'll spot it right away when you're talking about so much disinformation. You were just talking about what they blamed on Putin, but
The CIA you're talking about?
William Casey is a director of the CIA in, I believe, late 70s, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I believe he said we will know if our plan is working when 100% of the lies that we say they believe, something like that.
Yeah. Our disinformation program will be completed when all Americans believe the lie.
Yeah, here it
So
is.
what do you
something
be
like
the,
that? Yeah.
Yeah, what would
I'm
be
the
the
last
litmus?
holdout.
What
I'm
would
the
be the
last
litmus test? Because you'd have to probably test certain demographics, right? Because obviously you can't test everybody. So what would be your litmus test to see if that your lies are working?
How about a mask?
Would it be the overall atheism, increase in atheism? That would be the ultimate litmus test? What would it be, do you think?
How about
Conformity, just general conformity. Yeah. Put
Mask
out
is a
some
good one.
bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, conformity would be the best. Yeah.
You believe exactly what they say, so put on the mask or you're gonna die. Right?
There you go, right there.
Or you're a science denier.
So basically, you're saying we're fucked.
Well, we've been fucked for a while, but it's not hopeless, I don't think.
Dude, when I see all the people wearing masks, especially in their car together, side by side, and they're both wearing masks, and then when you actually ask them, did you know that the virus is 1.1 micron thick? Did you know that's like a pee through a chain link fence kind of thing? They're like, yeah, I know. Okay, all right,
And then
bye.
And then their face when you tell them viruses are fake, you can't even see it because they have the mask on.
I don't go that far, man. I just go with the micron size and pass them through the, chain link fence kind of thing, just to see if they acknowledge it. And yeah, they do. They still wear the mask.
Makes me sad when I go somewhere and see everybody walking around with their fucking masks on. It's like, come on. How big a sheep are we? This is ridiculous.
Yeah, bro. I've seen them driving around with masks and a shield. They have these shields over here in Canada. They look like welding masks.
Yeah.
I love that. I laugh at that. Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
I saw two young guys, one wearing a mask, one wearing a shield, waiting outside of a Value Village, which is like a secondhand store out here. And you go up to them and just say, how's it going? When's the store open up? And they're just, that's their life now, man. One's got a shield, one's got a mask.
Unbelievable. But of course, we here at the Randy Show say that you should always follow everything the CDC and your government official tells you because they love you and would never lie to you. We would never tell you that this is a bullshit pandemic and that you shouldn't believe what the TV says to you. TV never lies.
Always follow government orders.
All views expressed on this show are purely entertainment.
In the idea of state versus remember religion, on the idea of religion versus state versus religion, right? I can go pick up a rock, but I can't go pick up an idea. And the state, which controls all our public education, all the information that we get, right? We get it. Unless I'm talking to my neighbor, that's real information, or at least from his point of view. But everything else we get from writings, screens, movies,
like Asia, there's
all
songs.
this shit, right? And that's all an idea. It's all something that's just been written down to manipulate my mind, right?
They
So
recommend euthanasia.
I cannot
everywhere.
tangibly hold that. Now, if I wanted to rule the world with an idea, I'm gonna have to create an idea. The idea cannot be the same as what God created. A flat, stationary plane of existence with nature and abundance and everything that's given to us already, right? They have to create something like somebody said, this enclosed place, you're not leaving it. And we are the ones that control if you have food or water or power, all this shit, right? It's just an idea, but it's powerful.
And think about where that is most effective in the city center, the populations. And if you look at the results of this last election in the United States, there is a clear divide between the way the cities think and the way everyone else thinks outside the cities. It couldn't be more clear.
I have a quick comment on that, right? So the Biden folks were like, for the past year, we're saying, oh, we need mail-in ballots, right? Just for safety because of COVIDs, right? We don't want to go to the polling stations and spread the COVIDs, right? So they got this mail-in ballots things passed or whatever. And then what did they do about 3 hours after the Associated Press announced Biden won?
Yeah, they all got into the streets.
Ran out into the street, just shoulder to shoulder, nationwide, maybe globally, right? I don't know if other countries were celebrating, but like just shit like that.
Oh yeah, and the press loved it,
Pure
man.
propaganda. Pure propaganda.
Here,
There's only 4 places that I saw, which was New York, California, and I think one other state, popular state,
Washington D.C. I mean, they
Washington
surrounded the
D.C.
Capitol.
Yeah. It was
with
it
all
was
this
all
COVID.
just it was all just those 3: California, Washington D.C. And when you saw them get together as a crowd, you saw what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's like the media, like how many.
But they were afraid. But they were afraid to go to the polling station because of close contact with others.
How much do you have to see before you wake up?
No shit.
How much do you have to see before you wake up? I'm flabbergasted at that. It's so obvious for somebody like me, maybe everybody here on the panel, to see the bias, but then you show it to somebody else that thinks Donald Trump's a racist, and they see nothing wrong with it, but then justify the BLM and justify the riot. It has to be the best comedy writers together ever sitting right now in that room writing the script for these people, because it's so hilarious because of how awful it is, how intentional it is.
If you can
so
control, I
intentional.
think, what is it, Effie, Data, or anyone on the panel? If you can control, like, what is 10% of the minds, if you're in that position, a leader or how to say this, a manipulator, just you can 10%. If you can control 10% and make them believe, that 10% will change all the other minds for you. Have you seen what are these experiments? Right, they've been
Pavlov's dog.
Right.
The bell ringing.
I have heard something about that too. All it takes is 10% of people, and then some kind of snowball effect happens after that. Yeah. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've heard it.
Trump.
I'm not sure if it's true.
But don't you guys see
I reckon it's. I reckon, yeah, you got the 10% under control. At the other end is us, the 10% who refuse to be controlled, who will put up resistance. But the 80% in the middle, do you know what? They just don't want any aggro in their life. So they tend to they go with the flow, and then they'll turn against us. They'll turn against the other 10% and say, just don't make waves. Just go along with the story. It's all fine. Everyone's looking at
Hold on, Jumbo. Let him finish. Go ahead and finish up, Effie.
No, that's just what I think. I mean, it may not be 10, 10, and 80, but you know what I'm saying. Like, most
1%.
people just can't be bothered, don't want the aggro, don't want the grief, and so they'll just go with the narrative because their life's fine. Nothing's gonna, I don't want anyone turning against me, blah blah blah, and so we end up ostracized like lunatics at the other end of the scale.
Because it's easier to fool people than to convince people that they've been fooled.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Don't put up resistance.
It's easier for people too to jump on a bandwagon that's popular.
Yeah, but don't you guys think it's a bigger thing at play here?
Popular.
You have to realize that they know Biden is screwing up his words. They know Biden is, a little dementia.
Doing it on purpose.
So
like George Bush used to do.
So they're defending. Look, George Soros, DA, district attorneys. They're all extreme liberal or gay
It's not the
or whatever
point
it
that
is. Hold on.
Biden's. Excuse me, real quick. It's not the point that
How
Biden's fucking up
obvious
his
is
work.
it?
It's the idea that they believe they need to vote for a leader. That's the idea.
How obvious is it where you have to see the setup? And I'm like, why aren't you realizing the setup here? Defunding the police, we know is absurd. They know it's absurd as well, but they know the cause and the result of that defunding of the police, right?
That's
So-
media
so
propaganda.
who's going to be the good cop? Who's going to be the good cop, bad cop?
You know that Biden is under indictment in that country where he had the, I guess it's the prosecutor fired.
Biden is an actor in the show
Oh,
that now
no,
you guys are
it's
talking
no,
about
it's
and
under
making
indictment.
it real.
I'm talking about the
foreign
script.
country.
I'm talking
As a
about the
criminal.
comedy that I'm talking about the comedy they're ready, guys. They literally have comedy writers right now in the room. They know Biden. They have to be laughing their ass off drinking whiskey doing this stuff, dude. So when they
How
have
we kept off the plane list for the Pedo Island of Jeffrey Epstein, I don't know.
So the minds,
It's
the
gotta
minds
be-
that follow that 80%. The problem is not that they didn't hear Biden misspeak his words or anything. The problem is they believe they have to follow the crowd, like somebody said, maybe it's a popular vote. Like to be popular, just to fit in, or no, as FE evangelist, right? You have to just look. I don't want any troubles, right? And you know what? I'm gonna follow a crowd, right? I have to follow the crowd. I can't be that 10% like we are, right? I
Yeah.
have to follow the crowd. Exactly.
It's dangerous to be part of the 10%. Jimbo, you got cut off. What'd you say?
Sorry, Jimbo.
I'm not sure, but it's okay.
Okay.
Cut in later.
Okay.
I found something. Thanks. Sorry.
So with the next evolutionary step, because it's all about the mind fuck, right? They're gonna fuck you with the presidency. They're gonna fuck you with the cosmology. Now they have to. Well, they've always been fucking with you with the technology. So what's the next thing? What's the other psyop, do you guys think? Because I think it's a bunch of comedy writers right now going, listen, we have to do something. And okay, so aliens, right? Is that because the way I see it is they have to do something. They have to do something with the 5G. They really haven't done anything.
Watch.
With it.
The next best thing. The
With
next
Trump,
best thing.
use the term
Just look at
reset.
the Illuminati card deck.
I don't have one. I don't have one. If you have one, you should bring it on the show. We should play that game. Just see what happens.
The next best thing is gonna have as they're sitting up there high fluting, drinking their wine, smoking cigars, right? Looking down from their high towers, is going to have all those minds that are followers take out or kill the dissenters. I mean, so they can wipe their hands clean. They can wipe their hands clean. Okay. No. Think about it. It's happened over and over again throughout.
Oh, I know, but it's still crystal
Our
ball
history.
right now at this stage.
Sure.
There may be a few middle steps before we get there, Aaron.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say it's gonna happen right now, but you know, if you were that high fluting dude sitting up there, men and women, whatever, just no cares in the world, your 80% is paying you 30% of their labor, 50% of their labor, whatever. You create the money, you create the laws, you create the word, you create the story, right? Why not just write into the story that, wow, watch these people kill themselves, kill each other? Why not?
Well, that's what
happened before.
but isn't it better that they get you to do it? You do it to yourself. That's the better end game for them.
No, there's no joy in that.
Because it's
It's
easier just to get a guy pay somebody $500 and just get rid of you, right?
No, there's no joy in that, right? You watch the Hunter game or whatever that was, the hunting
Will be the
games, right,
psychological.
where humans
It'll be
hunt
the
humans and shit.
It'll be the drawn out psychological effect over 10 years. If you slowly pick away at a Western society that has, been used to dollar store prices for 15, 20 years, and all of a sudden dollar store prices become the most extravagant item that your household owns in 10 years from now. Well, that's going to have some psychological effect on a lot of 50, 40, 50-year-olds.
Isn't
right?
there a saying something like the best way to know your enemy is to know your enemy? Right. So, and I don't think
listen, man. They don't. Most of them don't even.
But you have to try to
give a
figure
second
out
thought.
your enemy, and I don't. That's a wrong word because I don't believe the system is the enemy. I think we, are just people, normal. We are the enemy of. We're. What does Jesus say? Evil lies within, or the
Your own worst
You
enemy.
you are your own worst enemy, right? So I'm
When
not
haven't they
pointing
got people
fingers,
to
but
kill themselves, Aaron? When haven't they got people to kill themselves? They're always getting people to kill each other. So that's
exactly.
nothing
One of the
new.
things,
That's
one of the
an old
mistakes I
school.
think we can make in this type of conversation is that let's make the assumption that everyone in this room is reasonable, rational, normal, ordinary, living life people. These people aren't like us, and so they don't view life through the lens we do. They don't. Their reality, and I don't mean flat Earth, globe Earth, but their reality of what their day-to-day life is nothing like ours, and what motivates them is nothing like what motivates us. So for us to think we can get into their mind and think what's their next move, what motivates them to do this, we don't have the faintest idea, because they're almost a different species to us psychologically. So yeah, we can poke holes in the air and think we can figure stuff out, but
That's right. That's right. We
who
can
knows what they
swing
got
into
They
the
tell
wind.
ya.
That's right.
They tell you
Swing
they
into
want
the wind.
smart cities. They tell you they want smart cities, and they want all your appliances online. That's fundamentally what they want. That's the basis of everything. And hold on. And if you go out into their streets and you get into a car, you're going to be connected to lamppost after lamppost to your destination, because that's going to be the 5G technology. You're going to have transponders every light post for the vehicles in the cities. As they spread out their technology, you're going to have it in the highways, but they want smart cities, smart education plans, smart. This is what they're calling it all. It's all called smart anyway, smart cities, right? Whatever you want to call it. So
it's all about but it's just control, right? They don't want you driving, they don't want you in control of the car with your free will to go wherever you want. They want you to just get in, and it takes you along a predetermined path that's best, right? That's what they'll tell you. They'll be like, oh, mathematically we figured it out, so traffic is gone, but you can't drive.
So what the Pope said is that he wants to, he basically told the United Nations, and I said this before, that our personal freedoms are dangerous for the environment. Okay. So their motivation through the Sustainable Development Goals is to basically remove our freedoms based on the environment. So they're going to use the environment as in court as a cause, and you're going to be deemed a threat or a hazard to the environment. So
let me say this, Effie did it. Like I just told Effie Evangelist, you're swinging into the wind. There's nothing there. There is no United Nations. It exists on paper. That's it. Right? But you're never going to find.
It's the Vatican,
if you want to go
Nations, it's the
strangle
Templars,
somebody,
it's the
who are you going to
Masons, it's the
strangle,
Jews,
right?
it's all,
Okay.
listen,
Now
it's all the prior 13 families. That's all I can say.
These words seem to.
That's what it is.
These words seem to, from the United Nations or whatever, seem to.
I'm just telling you what the Pope did. I'm telling you what the Pope did.
Whatever,
When he went there and he spoke, I'm just telling you what he did.
In that mechanism of control, but it's just words, data. That's all it is. Okay.
So they're warnings, just like how
you're
they, just like in
swinging into the wind.
2016.
You can't sue a government. You can't attack a government. You can't do anything because it
It's
does
just like a
not
16-year-old who
exist.
said to
It
us,
doesn't. It's all in your mind.
we're not going to
I
have.
don't mean that everything's fake. I'm just saying that
We're not going to have economic prosperity forever. This was in 2016.
Talking about, papers, right? Papers and the declarations of this or that.
No.
You got to think about. You can never. All you have to do is rip it up. Go to
I'm
the
talking
United
to what the
Nations
World
building
Economic
and
Health,
rip
what
up the paper
World
that's established it.
Economic
It's over.
Forum said. The World Economic Forum is
I don't
wanting
know.
the smart cities.
You're talking about a fictional
IBM,
entity. Who
IBM.
is?
It's a group, it's a panel of people.
Who is that? Tell me who.
The Schwab guy, whatever.
Aren't they just representatives of a fiction?
So he's the one.
Klaus
He's the one.
Schwab.
Yeah,
It's Klaus Schwab. His name is. And
Klaus
Aaron,
Schwab,
can
thank
I
you.
just say,
Okay.
Aaron, you should heed
He's
the
just
words.
a representative of a
Aaron,
fiction.
wait a minute. Stop interrupting, please, just for a second, right? You shouldn't just hand wave dismiss.
Get out of the paradigm, you guys. You guys keep talking about Globert shit.
No, I keep talking about what they want for our cities.
Get out of what paradigm? Wait a minute. This paradigm affects everybody's life. What flat earthers talking about facts? I've known about this for over 15 years, and I've read the Sustainable Development, the agenda. It was Agenda 21.
So you've been part of the system. So you have a vested
right,
interest.
Aaron. Listen, mate, you know jack shit
you.
about what you're talking about. You're talking about. You're acting like someone that knows something about a subject that clearly you don't have a clue. what
It's
you're
a
talking
think
about.
tank,
What
dude.
flat Earth
It's just a
data?
think tank. Why are you
No,
now
it's
trying
not a
to
think
condemn
tank.
me?
Look, listen.
It's
You might
unfolding.
say it's a fiction. Let me just finish. You might say it's a fiction, but these people that are apparently fictions, right? They're making decisions. That's where you get all
I
your
never
smart
said
meters.
that people are fictions. Why are you strawmanning
You
me?
said the organization was a fiction. It's just a fiction. Oh, it's just wind. They're
Absolutely,
just
it only
swinging.
exists on paper.
They're just swinging. Yep, they're just swinging in the wind. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's where your ignorance shines, mate.
Are you
Because
gonna
in
go
Britain,
punch the United Nations? Are you gonna go punch the
I've read.
UN?
Hey, listen. I read agenda, the sustainable, when it
You
was
gonna go
written in
punch the Federal
1990.
Reserve? Come on, dude.
1992. See, I mean, Aaron, you shouldn't be saying things like this, because the fact is, people might actually believe what you're saying is true. It's a serious subject. What Dale was talking about. It's not. They've been instigating this. This is just a plan. I've been watching this unfold in front of my eyes for the last 15 years. I've read the paper from start to finish. It's called Sustainable Development Agenda 21. Go and read the document, and then come back and say that they're not like cars. Listen, in 20 by 2030, right? By 2030, you won't be able to take any driving lessons, or you won't get issued a
What did you
driving
read?
license.
What was it? Sorry to interrupt. What did you read?
So on Canada, Environment Canada's website, just go to environmentcanadagovernment.ca and type in Agenda 2030, and they'll give you a breakdown. Now, what's
they
in the
changed
20?
it.
Well, I'm not talking about the 2021 now. I'm talking about the 2030, because 2021 starts January 1st. That's the whole
No, I'm
shift.
saying
That's the whole.
But they had to say, because they wanted all the data in by 2021, right? And then they were going to study it for 4 years, and then they were going to implement this agenda.
Well, here's some news for you.
But wait a minute, let me finish, please. I'm just finishing. The fact is, the thing that gladdened me is they changed that Agenda 21 into 2030. They had to push it back because it wasn't going according to their plans. And that's
here's what they're saying now in the business world.
I know what
they're
saying now. Yeah.
Well, they've advanced 10 years in their plan, because what it looks like, they're projecting, because the New York has commercial real estate's the next big one that's going to be hit hard here. They have basically most of the leases in New York, especially, have been just handed over to the owners without just everybody's bailing on the leases, and this is like by the thousands.
Effie, can I ask you one question?
Let me finish,
I'll
please.
go back
Let me
quiet.
finish, please. So they're
one
saying
question.
So they're saying that they've advanced their plan because they've removed jobs. They've got everybody now to stay home instead of commuting downtown New York and all that. That's a 10-year plan in advance. Now everybody's online, using online secure platforms to communicate for business, right? So they've got more people ordering food to their door, like ordering A&W, ordering McDonald's to your door, it's just pizzas anymore. It's any restaurant you want. So this convenience, let's call it a convenience ladder, has accelerated 10 years in advancement, they say, by the number of people that have gone online since. And then, because of that, more people are now trading stocks with their government grant money. So the stock market is going up because everybody's staying at home, taking their free money and putting it in the stock market. So the advancement and change of jobs, lost jobs, and once the oil industry does get hit hard, which I don't think is possible technically, unless they're just completely an importer of oil and they shut all manufacturing down, which means inflation, food, everything will be unaffordable, and it will cause a massive depression. So if we go into that, that's what they want, because it will accelerate towards 2030 even faster. So when they're saying 10 years in advance, that's huge on their scale, man. That's huge.
Can I ask
one of
you a
my
question,
theories.
Effie?
Go ahead, Aaron. You were waiting. Go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. Effie, how do I know you exist? Like, how would you prove to me, right?
Do I have to smoke a joint and answer that question?
Yeah, that's right.
Do we have to get metaphysical on
right?
each other?
We hold on. We'd probably meet and shake hands, maybe punch each other, whatever. How do you prove you exist to a fiction? How do you do that? Like the government. How do you prove you exist?
First of all, why would I want to prove that I exist to them?
Okay, don't you have licenses, permits,
So
you
I
know,
was born into
the
a
things you
world.
need? Okay,
I was
so
born into a world
you
that
use a
said
piece of
to me that I
paper
had to use
to
all these
prove you
things
exist.
to have all
Okay,
these
that's
freedoms.
the difference between religion and state. That's all I'm saying, right? Right the
Sure, but
hand can walk
that's
up
to
and
be
fucking put me
registered
in a
to them.
chokehold. I know he's real, but you know what? His license couldn't put my license into a chokehold. Okay, it does not happen. Okay, that's all I'm saying about the difference between religion and states. When you're talking about all these organizations, entities, and Agendas 21 and all this stuff, yeah, I get it.
Just
I know
Agenda
they're putting out
2030.
these writings. I get it.
Just
Okay,
Agenda 2030. It's
but
true.
it's
It's
all
real.
just writing. It's all just
And you know
writing, and
what's
it only
you know what's really
applies.
scary about the writing
It only applies
and what they put in
to
there?
someone who exists on paper. It
Yeah,
does not
you know what they
apply to
do?
God's. It does
They're
not apply to
before they
God's
do any
creation.
development.
Just so you know.
Yeah, before they
I'm
do
done,
any
Brandon. Thank you.
development in the future, they have to do a gender-based study. So that basically say that if we're going to go into this community, there's going to be 5 white people, 4 black people, 2 transgender, and 1 whatever. How is it going to affect the other genders in that community?
What?
If you go, listen, man, it's so bizarre. Anybody right now, just go to environmentcanada.ca and look up Agenda 2030.
I'm on the
and
website.
Look, everything in there will tell you. They would probably give you a whole bunch of links now. Before it was easy. Before you typed it in, they'd give you a top link. It'd give you right to the page. Now they give you like 100 different links when you type it in. But when you go and read it, now I haven't read it all. It's a good read. It's long, but some of the things in there are based on gender identities.
Yeah,
you can't develop any resources without doing a gender identity impact.
they've got a peace, justice, and strong institutions. I imagine it's under their partnership for the goals. But what I wanted to say was one thing I've noticed over the last couple years, 2-3 years maybe. If you'll remember in the United States, and this might have happened in many countries in many different forms, there was a plan put forward by new Democrats, these new Justice Democrats, called the Green New Deal. And it made a lot of news, and the media was pushing it, and they were definitely floating it to see if they could get the people to buy it. And they said it would have an economic impact like World War II. It'd be a major mobilization, reduction in all this stuff, and blah, blah, blah. It'd have all these impacts, close businesses down, etc. People would have to stay in their house. They'd drive less. And what happened is with coronavirus, they got a long way towards fulfilling that plan, including the trillions of dollars that were signed over to them as a part of the stimulus packages or whatever. I mean, if you compared the two, which would be interesting, compare the Green New Deal and what they wanted in that, the tangible stuff, compared to the tangible stuff that came out of coronavirus and the stimulus package in the United States, and there's a huge overlap. So I think possibly there was some ulterior motives there.
Brandon, you mean the CARE Act of $6.2 trillion?
Yeah.
One?
Yeah, and that's just part one.
Yeah.
Just was it $93 trillion for the whole Green New Deal?
It was some ridiculous number. I know that.
It would take 100 years before the United States could even pay it off.
Yeah.
Have a look at General Brandon. Get a little laugh.
Okay.
I'm familiar with that Green New Deal.
Yeah.
So you know what makes this possible among the government? Is it because there's not enough people awoke? or is it worse than that?
I made that one for Blue.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, she was the one pushing it, this Ocasio-Cortez, who's totally not. She's just a waitress who just happened into politics. She's totally not got powers behind her pushing her forward. No.
And the Dems are actually turning on her now, where she's thinking about resigning and quitting.
Yeah, right.
So that's happened. Yeah, this happened a couple of days ago.
This woman won't be going anywhere anytime soon. I promise you that. We'll be seeing her face for years, decades, probably.
Well, you know what she did, right? She actually tweeted saying that she wants to make a list of all the Trump supporters so that they could basically be punished. And she just tweeted this like 2 or 3 days ago. So she's being outed by the Democratic Party for it. So actually now the Dems are turning on her. largely part because the Republicans maintain the House now, and actually the Dems lost a few seats.
The Senate,
and because of the political stance of the five, or what are they called? Not the five, the squad. They're called the squad.
The squad, yeah.
Yeah. So the squad per se have really put a bad, long-term effect towards the party. At least this is what's coming out now. So it seems to be a little bit more, let's say, real liberal rather than Antifa liberal, if you will. Because the liberal part, the central, or the liberal party in general is about the people, taking care of the people that are sick, and there's good in the liberal side of things, but when it comes to the extreme side, I don't know what you would call that. Besides,
I'm not so sure why you're worried about these fictions.
Not worried
They're
about these
called
fictions.
seats, right? They're called
They're
seats.
not worried.
You
Not worried about
want
any
to put
fiction.
physicality called a human into a fiction called a seat, right? Remember that seat has a term. You know what's funny is another word for term is word, right? A term and word are the same fucking, very similar. Okay, so you're taking a man or a woman and putting them into this fiction, and then but only listening to what they speak out because you believe that they hold that seat, they hold that term, their word is what you should do or not do. It's law, right?
Yeah, you're just talking about the whole system and like trying to destroy it all, and why you should give credence to it.
Never destroy it. No. There is a need for a system. There is a need for a system. There is a need for a system. However, there is a need for a system. However, in the system that was created, called the American experiment, right? We, the people, govern ourselves. Do you govern yourself, or do you look for a leader? Do you look for a fiction to govern you, right? How do you put your pants on in the morning? Data.
Well, I know that if you have ambitions and goals, you usually have people that you look up to, right? People in the field or occupation or whatever direction of life you go, you're always looking for some, a mentor or somebody.
You might be, but that doesn't mean
generally anybody who's, even if you're playing guitar, dude, you're going to look for a mentor. Even if you're doing some drawing, you're going to look for a mentor.
That's physical. That's physical. That's not fiction. Yeah.
So even if you're looking for somebody to represent you in court, you're going to have to choose somebody who has those.
What do you mean? What court? You mean the fictional court?
The court that's changing the laws that determine what taxes we pay and what vehicle we're allowed to drive.
Courts don't change laws. Courts don't change laws. But anyways, yeah. So you're stuck in the system a little bit. So I get it. I'll go back quiet.
Hey, Flat Earth Data, I think there's some weird background noise coming. It sounds like you're trying to fit yourself into a pair of leather pants constantly or something. I don't know what it is. It's like some squishing sound. Just FYI.
Headphone, maybe?
Yeah, possibly.
Balls. He's shoving balls into his pants.
That's what you're asking me when I put my pants on, right? we all use mentors, man. We at least I did when I wanted to learn guitar. I listened to Jimi Hendrix, right? I watched him play and listened to his songs, right? So if we want to advance, we're always looking to somebody who has more talent than we.
But that's what I was talking about, that cult of personality data. That's what they want us to buy into. They want us to team ourselves up with other people. Their figureheads, their marketing that they give us. Like I'm trying to point out here with this Green New Deal versus COVID thing. One way or the other, they got what they wanted. It's just a way they packaged it and sold it to us. They couldn't get us to willingly swallow the Green New Deal. So they said, well, we'll break it down. And the first we'll do this thing with the, COVID, and we'll get part of it. And then we'll do part two.
Make us beg for it, right?
Yeah. Make us want it. Just like we want to have a microphone and a camera follow us everywhere. Now that they put it on our cell phones, our handy cell phones.
Yep.
It's better for them.
Yeah. I mean, not that we don't get any benefit out of all this stuff, but it's creepy as hell.
I was just going to say, Brandon, I don't think it's bad. Like my life is good. I think most folks here, your life is okay. We're not, distressed and starving on the streets or anything. And my come from is, as long as I know, or I can read what they say, right, and kind of know what where my life is gonna go, because I can't change it myself. As long as I know it, I'm at peace. Actually, as long as you can, they put all the information out there for us, and then you see the action like a year later, right? You see it, and I'm like, I get it.
Yeah, I just don't like being lied to constantly. It feels like we're living a lie for the most part as a society, and I just don't think it's a healthy.
Sure.
It's not healthy.
No, for sure. But as long as I know it's a lie, right? If you know someone's lying to you, you don't get angry, or at least I don't, right? Or you get angry when you find out after the fact it was a lie. Like when we found out after the fact about flat Earth and 9/11 and all the conspiracy shit. Then my first reaction was fuck, anger. But after realizing that everything's a lie, just like okay, now I know.
Yeah, but everything's not though. Everything's not a lie. That's silly. That's very silly.
I think it's just a
What do you mean?
matter of speaking. Not everything's a lie, right? You don't mean literally everything's a lie, right, Aaron?
No. Well, anything presented by the, let's say, the system that does exist, and it's a needful system. I don't want to get rid of the system, but it's a needful system. But it's been inflated and grown, so big for a purpose. And now I can see that, like, anything that you see on TV, or even those articles you pull up from NASA.com or whatever, right? Like rain, sucking alcohol out of a planet or raining down. Like, that's a lie, right? We can laugh at it.
Yeah.
Shit like that,
That's obvious shit. That's like stuff that we thought, we're told that only USSR and like North Korea do. I mean, that's just straight up in your face. Hey, you want to believe this? Go ahead, believe it. We're lying.
Yeah.
But anyway, you know what, guys? We've only got 42 people watching. There's all kinds of problems with the internet and YouTube out there, evidently. So I'm going to shut down the live stream. So why don't we do just a quick round? We've had a lot of people join us in the actual Discord to listen. So why don't we just do a quick round robin, and people can say something if they hadn't said anything yet. In other words, final thoughts without saying final thoughts. But then I'll shut the stream down. Allie B, we'll go alphabetically.
All right, Brandon. Yeah. Thanks. That was very interesting, guys. It was a good chat. It was all different subjects there. So, yeah, nice one. I enjoyed it. Good listening. All right. Cheers.
Well, thanks, Allie. Ambiguous truth.
Well, I think we have a very interesting couple months ahead of us. I think everybody should just try to be smart about the decisions you make and hope for the best. I mean, that's pretty much the best we can do from here on out. But thanks for having me. It's been great.
Yeah, thanks, man. Come anytime. Bandsaw Bandit.
Howdy. Live within the system, but out of the system. Cheerio.
Sounds good. Thanks, Bandsaw. BWK. No? Travis.
Great show. That's it.
Short and sweet. Like it. Data.
Yep. Yeah, good show, man. 1 is none, 2 is 1. I'm out. Thank you.
Thanks, Data. Gently. Jimbo.
Good show, good stuff. It wasn't a scream fest, and I think Google Chrome is screaming for an update and interfering with YouTube and stuff a bit on its own. I'm sure YouTube has its issues right now, but it might be time for a Chrome update because they're sending out alerts to everyone for one. So If you're on Chrome, you might want to check it.
Cool. Thanks, Jimbo.
Quick shout out to Lighthouse. That new platform supposed to be showing up in December. Supposedly it's going to be better than YouTube.
Oh, that'd be nice. Left lane.
Hey, no thoughts. Good show. Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks, Howard. Matrix Media J.
Thank you for having me, Brandon. Shout out to everybody over there on YouTube, if they could still hear me, and everybody on the panel. Thank you for having me.
Cool. Thank you. Mobius. Oh, we don't hear you if you're talking. I saw you come off mute though. Just speak up if you if you're able to get back on. Aaron.
Yeah, I second Bandsaw with the his statement of live. What was it, Bandsaw? Yeah, come back on. Live with the system, but
No,
without.
live within the system, but out of the system.
Very good. And there's a Rockefeller quote, very famous, that says, "Own nothing, control everything." Kind of the same paradigm there. So, like I was just talking about before, as long as I know, just me, that there are lies out there and stuff, I'm happy, right? Because you see the folks that don't know their lies and they don't know why they're angry. Right? You know, they're honking at you on the road, trying to get to work, get to their 9 to 5, got to go pay bills, they got to do all this crap, and they're just not happy folks, and it's part of the system actually to create unrest, kind of like that. So, cheers, Brandon. Thanks, Ranty.
Thanks, Aaron. Paul Rassan. SC Montreal.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brandon. Good show. Thank you, Ranty. Thank you, the panel, and everybody on YouTube. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, SC. Right the hand. You there? No? All right. My final thoughts. Good show. Thanks to the panel. Thanks especially for sticking around. Thanks to the audience for putting up with the technical issues that we had. And that was an interesting conversation. Again, we went all over the place. I've got like 30 tabs, 25, 30 tabs open from us just talking about different stuff. So it was pretty cool. Yeah, watch out for that hell planet, man. You know, that sounds like bad stuff. And the diamond one too. So anyway, thanks guys. I'll be back. All right. Thanks everybody. Sorry about that. Hopefully, the replay will be captured and it'll be available on the channel. I didn't record it separately, so it's either out there or it's not. Everything on my end tells me that it was recorded, so hopefully it is, and that some of you at least got to listen to the show, even though it was a shorter show than usual. I did record 45 minutes ahead of time, and I'll put that out on my channel, Brandon Toy channel, on YouTube. Probably tomorrow. You check that out. And thanks for supporting the show. And that's about it. We'll see you tomorrow, 5:05 Eastern Standard Time. Until then.